Imagine waking up drowning, not in water, in air that has become poisoned. Your eyes feel like someone is pouring battery acid directly into them. You can't see. You're blind. Your lungs are on fire from the inside. Every breath is agony, but you can't stop breathing. You cough and blood fills your mouth. The more you breathe, your lungs get squeezed. People running blindly through clouds of white mist, searching desperately for clean air that doesn't exist. This isn't a nightmare. This is what happened on the night of December 2nd, 1984, in Bhopal, India. Over 40 tons of deadly methyl isocyanate gas escaped from a Union Carbide pesticide plant and turned an entire city into a gas chamber. Within hours, thousands were dead. 500,000 were poisoned, and 40 years later, people are still dying. This was the worst industrial disaster in human history, and it was entirely preventable. Union Carbide was aware that the plant was hazardous. They cut safety measures to save money. When the gas leaked, all 6 safety systems that could have stopped it were non-operational, not broken by accident, deliberately shut down to cut costs. In 1969, Union Carbide Corporation, an American chemical giant, decided to build a pesticide factory in Bhopal through its Indian subsidiary. The plant would manufacture 7, a popular pesticide. To make 7, they needed methyl isocyanate, MIC. MIC is one of the most toxic substances ever created. It's a colorless liquid that instantly becomes a lethal gas when exposed to air. It burns tissue on contact. It destroys lungs. It causes blindness. It kills quickly and painfully. For the first decade, the Bhopal plant imported MIC from Union Carbide's facility in West Virginia. But in 1979, to increase profits, they decided to manufacture MIC on site in India. Here's where the crime begins. Union Carbide built the Bhopal plant with what their own internal documents later called unproven and untested technology. They deliberately chose not to install safety devices that were standard at their American plants. They saved money by cutting corners on systems designed to prevent exactly what happened. The plant in West Virginia had extensive safety protocols, computerized monitoring systems, multiple backup containment measures, trained emergency response teams. The Bhopal plant had none of this. Why? Because Indian lives were cheaper than American safety equipment. That's not speculation. That's what their actions proved. By 1984, the plant was failing financially. Demand for pesticides had dropped. The factory was operating at only 1/4 capacity. Union Carbide's response wasn't to shut down the dangerous facility. It was to cut costs even further. They implemented what they called a cost-cutting spree. The crew operating the MIC plant was reduced from 12 workers to 6. The maintenance crew was cut from 6 to 2. Safety training was slashed from 6 months to 15 days. 15 days to learn how to handle one of the deadliest chemicals on Earth. The night shift MIC supervisor position was eliminated entirely. In the control room, one operator was expected to monitor over 70 panels and gauges, many of which were broken and never fixed. Workers complained. They were ignored. One employee went on a 15-day hunger strike to protest the unsafe conditions. He was fired. 70% of the plant's workers were fined for refusing to violate safety regulations under management pressure. Think about that. Punished for trying to be safe. On the night of December 2nd, 1984, everything that could go wrong did. And every safety system that could have prevented disaster had been deliberately disabled. Around 11:30 p.m., workers noticed a leak near the vent gas scrubber. They reported it to their supervisor. He dismissed it as just water and said he'd deal with it after the tea break. By midnight, it was too late. Water had entered MIC storage tank. MIC reacts violently with water. generating intense heat. The temperature inside the tank skyrocketed. Pressure built rapidly. The liquid MIC began boiling, turning into gas. The refrigeration system that was supposed to keep the tanks at safe temperatures had been shut down months earlier to save on electricity costs. The vent gas scrubber, which could have neutralized escaping gas, was not operational. The flare tower, designed to burn off excess gas, had been out of commission for 3 months. None of the 6 safety systems designed to contain such a leak were working, not one. At 12:40 a.m., the pressure relief valve on Tank 610 burst open. Over 40 tons of methyl isocyanate and other toxic gases exploded into the night air. The cloud was heavier than air, so it sank low to the ground and spread through the densely populated neighborhoods surrounding the plant. People woke up choking, gasping, screaming. The gas burned their eyes until they couldn't see. It scorched their throats. It filled their lungs, causing them to vomit and convulse. Many died in their beds. Others made it outside only to collapse in the streets. Families ran through the darkness trying to escape, but the cloud was everywhere. Parents lost their children in the chaos. The blind led the blind. People trampled each other trying to flee. Some tried to reach higher ground, believing the gas would stay low. Most didn't make it. The hospitals were overwhelmed within an hour. Doctors had no idea what gas they were treating or how to help. Union Carbide refused to provide information about MIC's toxicological properties, calling it a trade secret. People died because the company wouldn't share information that could have saved them. By morning, the streets were lined with corpses. Bodies piled outside hospitals. Mass funeral pyres burned for days. The official count said 2,200 died immediately. But survivors and aid organizations believe the real number was closer to 10,000 in the first 3 days alone. 4 days after the disaster, Warren Anderson, chairman and CEO of Union Carbide Corporation, flew to Bhopal. He later admitted he went to head off lawsuits. When he arrived, Indian authorities arrested him on charges of causing death by negligence. This should have been the moment of accountability. The man whose company's negligence killed thousands, finally facing justice. It lasted 6 hours. Anderson was released on $2,100 bail. He was escorted to the airport on a state-owned government aircraft and flown to Delhi. 2 days later, he left India and never returned. The circumstances around his release remain suspicious. Multiple officials have claimed they received orders from higher-ups to let him go. The Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh personally ensured Anderson's safe departure. Whether corruption, political pressure, or international interference was involved, the result was the same. The man most responsible for the disaster escaped. In 1991, Indian authorities charged Anderson with culpable homicide, equivalent to manslaughter. If convicted, he could have faced 10 years in prison. In 1992, he was declared a fugitive from justice for failing to appear in court. India formally requested his extradition in 2003. The United States refused, citing lack of evidence. In 2009, an arrest warrant was issued. Again, nothing happened. Anderson lived comfortably in the Hamptons, one of the wealthiest areas of New York. He owned homes in Florida and Connecticut. He gave no interviews. He expressed no remorse. He died on September 29, 2014, at age 92, in a nursing home in Florida. He never faced trial. He never answered for what his company did. He lived a long, comfortable life while the people of Bhopal suffered and died. In 1989, Union Carbide reached a settlement with the Indian government. $470 million for one of the worst industrial disasters in history. Sounds like a lot until you do the math. The settlement was based on the claim that only 3,000 people died and 102,000 suffered permanent disabilities. Both figures were gross underestimates. When the money was divided among victims, each person received approximately $500, less than 5 cents per day, to cover decades of medical bills, lost wages, and lifelong suffering. For comparison, Union Carbide paid over $2 billion to compensate asbestos workers in Texas. American lives got billions. Indian lives got millions. The message was clear, and Union Carbide's own documents showed that if compensation had been paid at the same rate they were paying American victims, the liability would have exceeded $10 billion, more than the company was worth. The horror didn't end in 1984. Union Carbide abandoned the factory site without cleaning it up. For years, they had been dumping toxic chemicals and waste around the facility. These chemicals leached into the soil and contaminated the groundwater. Over 30,000 people drank that water for years. Union Carbide knew it was contaminated and told no one. In 2002, testing found mercury, lead, chloroform, and other poisons in the breast milk of women living near the abandoned plant. Babies were being poisoned through their mother's milk. Children born to gas-affected parents suffer horrific birth defects, missing limbs, severe mental disabilities, organ failures, chronic illnesses. One doctor described them as monstrous births. Over 150,000 people still suffer from gas-related illnesses. More than 25,000 have died in the 40 years since the leak. The Indian Supreme Court ordered clean drinking water to be provided in 2004. The site still hasn't been properly cleaned up. Families too poor to move continue living on contaminated land, drinking poisoned water, breathing toxic air. In 2010, 7 former Indian employees of Union Carbide's subsidiary were convicted of negligence and sentenced to 2 years in prison each. Not the American executives, not the parent company. Just 7 low-level Indian managers. They served their time. The corporation that caused it all faced nothing. This is the story they never meant to be told. Until now.